Hi wonderful people, welcome back to Voice Calling Out. This is the second part of the Real You series on A Voice Calling Out. Thank you so much for your engagement on the first video, Just Be Yourself. And in this video, what I would like to ask is whether we discover or do we create ourselves. The reason why I found that this topic also goes into the whole big topic of becoming the real ourselves is because I see that there are a lot of inspirational posts and posters and on you can be whoever you want to be, you can create yourself, or the other way around. You just have to discover who you really are and stuff like that. And my vision, my goal with this blog and with this YouTube channel is to help you think about these kind of things rather than just accepting them as they come. Generally, this is my goal in life a little bit, to help people go deeper. So this is what I want to do in this video. I want to talk about what I think about inspirational posts. Generally, what I think about these two kind of philosophies that lie behind discovering or creating ourselves in specific. And I would like to give you a way of thinking about this that maybe is something that you wouldn't have thought based on just reading an inspirational post. So first thing I want to clarify is that I have nothing against inspirational posts. I love them at times, I hate them at other times, but I think that generally they're something that are made there with a good intention to make people more motivated to get from point A to point B in their lives. And I think whenever that happens, it's a good thing that it happened, and I'm happy that it happened. On the other side, different people with different backgrounds and different points in their lives understand this one sentence motivation or two sentence motivation very differently. And this is what also motivated me to make a video on this, because I think there are a lot of good intentions flying around on the social media. I think there are a lot of misunderstanding also on what these kind of things mean or what they don't mean, and everybody just ends up interpreting these kind of things the way they usually would do. And some other people go and get very angry about these kind of things, and I think that maybe is justified but not necessarily necessary. So for example, if you go around your day and it's a rainy day, you feel kind of in a bad mood, you don't really feel like the best self you can be at the moment, and you read something like you can be whoever you want to be, and it gives you this idea that, oh, I want to be a happy person. And if it helps you go and just find something that boosts your mood, then that's a great thing. But it happened to me that when I read something like that, I just get more depressed, because I feel, well, no, I actually feel that doesn't really work at the moment, without being able to say why it wouldn't work. And I actually would have thought that in those moments when you read an inspirational post that you want to apply, but it actually makes things worse, it's a good idea to know where that comes from and what other kind of complementing ways there are to think about those things. So in order to get a bit deeper from one sentence inspiration to what does that mean, I would like to explore a bit the philosophies that I think lie behind sentences about creating or discovering ourselves. The first point, if you see something that would make you think that you can create yourself and just be whoever you want to be, there is nothing that can stop you becoming whoever you want to become. What I think about these things, these ideas, is that they come from a philosophy of freedom, kind of, that's how I call it. That the general idea is that nothing is deterministic, that no matter who you are, no matter what you've passed through in life, no matter what kind of context you grew up in, no matter the kind of day that is outside, you are free to choose how you become or who you are on, and you are not determined to become one certain person. Or in career choices, this is easier to understand. There was a time where every boy would become the same thing that his father was, and girl the same thing that her mother was, and that would be a very strong example of determinism. And just nowadays it's unthinkable, or to most parts of the world is unthinkable to think like this. So this philosophy comes a bit like, yes, even if your father was a doctor, you can choose to become whatever else, or also you can choose to become a doctor. So this is what I see from this philosophy, that is a very good thing, that it promotes freedom, that it promotes this idea that we are not constrained by whatever happened to us. I see a lot of very, very positive effects on this, on patients who have mental illnesses, because mental illness is something that in many cases feels like a deterministic thing. Like if you have a depression or anxiety or a PTSD or whatever, then you feel like this is it, this is all that I will ever be, this is all that I will ever feel. And if something from this philosophy comes around and say, no, you can make steps, you can choose, not from one point to another to become a completely healthy person, but you can make healthy choices that with a process will help you become at least a healthier person. So this is something that I really treasure from this philosophy. On the other side, there is something that I don't really see as a value from this philosophy when it comes and goes a bit in the direction of extreme isolation or extreme individualism. For example, in the same train of thought, you can say, well, nobody can influence you to become someone or something. And the way this is normally said is, nobody can dictate your choices, nobody can tell you what to do. And while I do agree that nobody can dictate and nobody can tell you what to do, it is generally a good idea to let yourself be influenced by other people. What I just want to say is that the extreme nobody can tell you what to do is a bad idea, because that would basically, if taken seriously, mean that you would have to reinvent the wheel all by yourself. You would have to do all the mistakes that other people did and not learn from other people's mistakes. Obviously, nobody can dictate your choices, but if you don't let anybody influence and inform your choices, then you probably live a very, very lonely and desert life. And I know that those are big words to throw around today, but what I mean is that we are not ourselves in a vacuum. I said this in the previous video. And if we don't allow ourselves to be influenced by people that we admire, but also people that we don't admire, in our choices, then we really lost our chance to become more ourselves through learning from other people. And these are the two things. And I think this philosophy has a very good positive side, and then you learn from it and take it and give it its place, whilst also taking it to the extreme and applying it to other kinds of things. It can have devastating effects. And now the other side of the argument usually goes something like, you have to discover who you are. Go ahead and discover who you are really meant to be, and stuff like that. And again, this for me has a positive and a negative side. And the positive side is something that I value greatly is that there exists an objective reality generally. I know there are philosophies that don't agree with this, obviously. I subscribe to this philosophy, and I think it's a very big value to think about reality as something that actually exists. And if you take that into a consideration and take it seriously, then what you are is something that you discover as opposed to create. But I'll get back to how these two kind of come together later. And the value that I find in this is also better illustrated by the rainy day example. If the day is moody and it's rainy, and there are also maybe other things that go on in your life that make you feel sad, if you would subscribe to the philosophy of you are free to choose whichever mood you want to have, then maybe you would force yourself to become a person in a happy mood, even though in that moment maybe what actually exists in your heart is sadness. And that's not a bad thing. And that is why I think discovering sometimes has a lot more benefit than creating sometimes. So in this example, if the person is actually sad and outside there's also a rainy day, and all this comes together and gives a kind of a sad mood, then I genuinely believe that is a good idea to work a bit on learning, discovering what really is and accepting it, because there is power in accepting reality, even if it's not nice, even if it's sadness instead of happiness, even if it is a trauma that you had passed through, even if it's whatever unhealthy choices that you've made or other made for you. I think in accepting these kind of things, there is a very, very big power. And this is the positive side, and I will come back to this, but the negative side of this argument is a very rigid determinism that you actually have no choice. And that is not what I think about this. What I think that this argument sometimes goes a bit to the extreme when it goes, you are already how you are, things are already how they are, and you have no power to change whatsoever. So just accept it and be happy it's not worse. Obviously, this is a very cynical point of view, or makes one very cynical, and this is not the part of the argument that I consider to be true. And now that I was able to present to you a bit into the philosophies of creating and discovering and what I think is good and what I think is bad in each, I would like to tell you how I think these things work. And first to that is that this point of view that I'm talking about is very, very deeply informed and influenced by the biblical teachings. So what I believe is that yes, I exist, I was created already, I don't need to create myself in that sense, that a good God created me in a way that he said good, and he was happy about that. And I find a lot of power in discovering different parts of myself that are good or that are bad. I find that there is an inner peace, an inner happiness, and an inner sense of identity when I discover these parts of myself and accept them, be that good or bad, and in a way that the other side of the philosophy will never give it to me. And on the other side, and this is also my very biblically informed point of view, is that we are free and we are called to become who we really are. And we do that by choices that we make, by acknowledging, discovering who we are, while in a way also kind of creating it. And I know I'm using now kind of this word a bit ambiguously, but it's very hard to explain how this really works in reality. But the bottom line is that discovering and creating go together like shana na 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 na. So that they are inseparable. I think that if there's no objective reality, then there's no subjective reality upon it. And if you only want to have the one, you will be an unhappy person, whichever one you choose. And I'm actually very happy to realize how much in the Bible, as me as a Christian, that my worldview is constantly updated and informed also through the Bible. I'm very happy to see that these two also go together in the Bible, that there is a way that in which God created me in a wonderful way, and He created you in a wonderful way, and that exists, while in some way you also have to become that person, that even though you realize that you are in a certain place right now, that doesn't mean that that's it. And even though you might feel like you have already discovered who you are, it doesn't mean that that's the whole story. So I think it is a very, very powerful thing to have both, and to use both in places that they belong. That the two don't kind of take the place of each other. So if you have a rainy day and you feel like I could use a mood booster, that I could use a mood booster, then go ahead and do something that makes you happy and cheerful. Whilst if you have a rainy day while also experiencing some grief or some other sad feelings, then go ahead and discover these sad feelings and sit with them a while and see what's happening there. Because actually, and this is something that I've seen in my personal life, if you allow yourself the freedom to accept what really is, no matter how hard, no matter how awful or how sad it makes you, accepting that and being in a place where you actually are will make you open up to a whole range of possibilities, to maybe change, to make choices that will change that state over the course of your life. Or if it's something that you do not have power to change, then you can learn how to integrate that into yourself and live a really happy and peaceful life, no matter what kind of circumstances you have, no matter what kind of things there are in your life that you're not happy about. So this is it. This is what I wanted to tell you about inspirational posters and philosophies of discovering or creating ourselves. I really hope that it inspires you to see inspirational posts and posters in a new light, to see maybe other philosophies that are not yours in a new light. Maybe things are more complementary than we all thought. Please let me know in the comment section if anything comes up as a thought, as an idea, as a comment to what I just said or what I previously said. Check out my blog, which is also in the description of this video. Don't forget to subscribe and share this video if you liked it. And see you next time. Goodbye, wonderful people.